On the other end of it, we did have another good article come out this last week involving BBC News, which is also in the UK. So this isn't just, UK journalists do not think well of furries. Well, clearly we have something like this. Literally within the same week as the last article, we get this one from BBC News, titled simply, "Being a furry is like wearing a superhero cape." And you get to ask, like, what does this mean? It gives you a bit of thought. This is a good hook. See, this is how you hook in an audience in a positive manner. You take a quote and you want to ask yourself, wait, what does it mean furry is like wearing a superhero cape? Even I, who I'm a furry, I'm even asking myself, wait, what does this mean? What do they mean by this? What are they going to talk about in this article? And so I want to click on. This is how you get people to click on your article if you're a fucking good writer. Let's see what they had to say. It's made like a few days ago with a couple of pictures of furries, which is also funny when, at the convention, they didn't use any photos of furries of the last article. They had to use an article of the picture of the charity. Shows you that they're not really focusing on the furry aspect. They're just trying to tear it down. So, Fennec Firefox, a man dressed as a large furry orange fox with blue hair and a tail tipped by a flame, says that in his normal life, he is a very shy person. But after he adopts his fursona, he is dancing in the street and sharing a long hug with his best friend Rock, who is dressed as a giant red and black German shepherd. Look at that. It sets a good precedent for furry that, like, before furry and just in general, that they're a very shy and quiet person. But when they get to be their fursona and they take that on, they become very outward, very loving, and very much themselves, very confident boost. So this already has a better narrative than whatever the last article was. Fennec says that being in costume allows him to escape his everyday struggles and do nothing but be happy. That's what has brought him to Scotland's largest furry convention, ScotiaCon. Huh! I wonder, ScotiaCon, where have we heard that before? Wait, hold on, but wasn't ScotiaCon supposed to be that furry fetish con? For those that had an animal fetish from that last article? Wait a minute. I fucking love that, though. I didn't know that this bit would be mentioning ScotiaCon at all, but here we are. It's like, oh, BBC, are you gonna come in clutch? I might just start paying attention to you guys just because you wrote this article. Just saying. But that's the point of the whole superhero cape that Fennec says. It's like when I put on the fox head, the person is gone. He does not exist. I'm this big, fluffy animal character, and I get to just have fun. In the sense of a superhero cape being like a sense of escapism, being able to escape normal life and just be an entirely different person or an entirely different persona or character that you want to be that isn't just you in normal life. And that is pretty cool. What does the rest of the article have to say? Outside the Glasgow Hotel, where the event is held, hundreds of people dressed in costumes ranging from a rabbit in military uniform to a unicorn with a magic wand have gathered along the banks of the Clyde. Passers-by dodge a pack of giant multicolored dogs as they pose with each other in a group selfie. A few meters away, a group consisting of a bull with pink ears and a husky in a wizard's hat dance along to an accordion being played by a person in a large cartoon fox head. ScotiaCon's co-director Jeremy Smith says the event is an opportunity to forget the real world for a weekend. This is a good encapsulation of the wide range of different things that you'll see literally out and about at a furry convention. You got a couple of people in a pack ranging for a photo, a couple of people getting a group selfie, a couple of people dancing to someone playing an accordion, and all sorts of different animal characters, different personas, ranging from different varieties, a diverse group of everyone just kind of doing their own thing and having a good time. You can see the vibes are immaculate. It's interesting how you have that last article, which does not go into really that many specifics about the con itself, rather than the rules that were stated and about those associated with the con. This one literally, within the second fucking section, gets into the nitty-gritty of what the con is about. This is how you can tell that this is made truthfully about what the spirit of furry, the community, events like it, are. You can immediately tell in how the writing is, in how much there is to talk about. This is why furry articles are so interesting in how far they range. Some are good, some are bad, and it usually ranges between the two. It's never like an in-between, like, oh, it's an okay, just average article. No, they're either amazing or they're just completely false and just entirely rely on rage bait or matter of opinion on what is deemed okay or not. Either way, we have the rest of this. The 45-year-old says, you can go and be this big colorful animal that has no worries in the world and can just disconnect. I think a lot of people come along for that. It is literally a form of escapism, of just being able to put away whatever worries you have in the world and just enjoy the hobby you have. That is literally it. And that's the best way to describe what the community is about, other than, you know, the main aspect that they like anthropomorphic animal characters. You know, why do people do it? They get to be themselves. They get to not worry about being this shy, anxious person and can just be whoever they want to be, whether it's through their persona or who they're interacting or spending time with at a con. Whatever they're doing, they can do whatever they want. I mean, within reason, of course, rules, code of conduct and all that, but that in essence is just what I feel like people go to conventions for, or just enjoy furry for. Either way, next section. Yeah, you got a picture of the furries at the convention posing. Many furries prefer to keep their real identity secret. I mean, yeah, you know, just because you want to enjoy something and you also don't know how everyone's going to react to it, because if you have people like the other Telegraph article, yeah, you probably don't want them knowing you're a furry, knowing how volatile the reaction was there. So yeah, either way, ScotiaCon first launched in Inverness in 2011. But this year's 4-day convention is expected to be the largest yet, with 1,700 attending. It's an opportunity to be silly for a weekend, where no one is judging you, Mr. Smith says. It features events such as cash-free casino night, an art auction, fan fiction writing panels, a rave, and a wine and cheese reception. See how you can mention the part that might have, you know, suggestive or NSFW or adult elements that could or could not be in the fan fiction writing panels, but you don't know that, and that could be an entirely different thing that you're thinking of. But it mentions all the different events and things you can do at the con, something that the last article did not. It only focused on the ones that were deemed unsavory, that were deemed not okay or weird or insinuative. Wine and cheese reception. That sounds fucking amazing. I've always wanted to go to a wine and cheese reception, truthfully. However, the convention in the furry fandom more widely is regularly the subject of controversy. It is often associated with sexual fetishism, and members of the fandom have been accused of being sexual deviants or misfits. See how this is where you transition into that argument or that discussion after you talk about what the community is really about. You talk about some of the cons with it after talking about how it's primarily a good thing. The convention does host events such as writing furry erotica, but Mr. Smith insists that furries are badly represented in the media and that fetishism is not part of the furry identity. I argue yes and no. Not in the sense, maybe I'm understanding fetishism in like the wrong way, and that might be a discussion for later, but in terms of what people enjoy about furry and what people participate in, is like, yeah, there's an aspect to it. And yeah, people might say it's not a big percentage. I'd argue that adults participating in adult things is natural and normal and okay under the specific circumstances that it's with consensual adults in a space for that. But the portion of it being badly represented in the media is very, very true. The fetishism not being part of the furry identity, that is deterministic of what people kind of understand with furry. It's not intrinsic in the fact that anyone who is a furry is immediately like a sexual deviant or a fetishist or participates in the adult community. You know, it's not part of the furry identity in the sense that people don't come in either just for that or for the reason that it's not intrinsic. People think it's intrinsic because of what the media represents the furry community as, or at least how it's been set as that in the past. It doesn't mean that everyone is, for that matter. The furry community, the adult side of the furry community, or NSFW side, is very minute compared to the rest of people who want to celebrate furry. It's like, well, we are one of the most misrepresented communities, and almost always in a negative way. It's largely because people fear what they don't know, he says. Thank you. That I believe in. That I think is true. And I don't even think it's necessarily that people fear what they don't know. It's that what they don't know and what they're not told about, they'll come to their own conclusions about. And so when you have furry who is already seen as intrinsically weird with people who dress up in animal costumes of their characters, yeah, that's fucking weird at the end of the day. It's not hurting anyone. But as soon as you apply 18 plus, sexual, anything, fetishistic, then your mind immediately thinks, wait, what is the part that people think is sexy? What is the part that people enjoy about that. And so that's where you have all sorts of conclusions, and some people will go to worst case scenario or take any little bit they can and try to spin that narrative with it because haha, something funny to rag on at the end of the day. This is very true, and I believe that. We're used to people saying, look at this debauchery, but we aren't a fetish event. It's not what the convention is about. There you go. People say, look at it. Even then, look, what debauchery? Even if they look at this debauchery, as long as it's with consensual adults at the end of the day, there should be nothing wrong with it. It's not like people are going about having sex in the main con lobby either. But either way, let's keep going. Fennec the Firefox says it is just a hobby. It is no different to an anime convention or a Comic-Con convention, he says. Well, the only difference that I'd say is that there is a much deeper sense of community in furry. At the end of the day, it is a hobby. It really is. But I think a lot of people really do care about the community to the point where it is a little bit deeper than a hobby for some. I'd argue that it is a hobby, but also isn't. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at it this way coming in, it literally is no different than any anime convention or Comic-Con. That I agree with. Furries first emerged as a subculture in the 1980s after anthropomorphic creatures began appearing as characters in science fiction comics and fan art. Fans of the characters soon started dressing as animals, ranging from cats and dogs to more fantastical creatures such as dragons and unicorns, and calling themselves furries. Okay, pretty true. It goes on to discuss the history of the fandom, how it kind of started, and where the idea of it came to be. The furry community, or fandom, gained popularity with the growth of the internet, and it is estimated that there are now hundreds of thousands of furries worldwide, and constantly growing as we speak. Furries say that they do not identify as animals, and many liken the activity to cosplaying, the practice of dressing up as characters from a film, book, or video game. The costumes, or fursuits, can often cost thousands of pounds, and many are handmade. I just want to say, I fucking love this article so far. This is probably the best article I've read in recent years with regards to what furry is about and what the community members think of it, with regards to the misconceptions, with regards to how it's seen. This article was perfect to put out literally right after the dumpster fire of that Telegraph article. And I'm glad that BBC did this. I'm glad that they made this article because it is fantastic. Oh, look, another picture. That's the thing you get with this article compared to the last one. Plenty of pictures of the convention. Meanwhile, the last article just took a random stock photo of a cat. Inside the convention hall, an octopus and a parrot casually drink a glass of wine together. Dude, that sounds banging. You can just drink wine in the convention space? Hold on. I might have to hit up ScotiaCon. Rock the German Shepherd says that in everyday life, they could be doctors, teachers, engineers, or lawyers. He's met them all at the convention. You probably know a furry and don't realize it because we are just everywhere, says Rock, who, like Fennec, is not keen to reveal his human identity, preferring to be known by his fursona. He says, we feel free under the fursuits because you don't see what we look like underneath. There is no way to make prejudgments. That is pretty cool. That is a good way of viewing it. I mean, a level of anonymity, a level of allowing you to build up your own character or self and having this chance to build who you are through your fursona. That is what's very unique about furry, about identity in that sense. Mr. Smith also says the event is attended by a very diverse audience, which is largely made up of professional people. I know a professor who runs a science department in a London university, a nuclear space technician, a businessman who runs a chain of upmarket bakeries, he says. It's a very diverse, very accepting community. Mr. Smith himself is an engineer responsible for building military equipment for the UK government. That's pretty fucking cool. It's like by day, you have this extravagant job where you basically make sure the country is running or like make sure things don't fall apart in life, and then by night you just kind of enjoy your hobby. I like that. He also says that ScotiaCon is popular with people with autism and physical and learning disabilities who see the convention as a safe space. He says that wearing a fursuit can allow those who struggle in social settings to be more confident. Some members of the fandom cannot even talk to people, but you put them into a fursuit and you could put them on a stage tomorrow, he says. Literally, that can happen. And that's the good thing that I like about furry. It's non-judgmental in the sense of those with disabilities, of those on the spectrum, neurodivergency. All the inhibitions are gone. They put on the costume and become a big, bright character. I think that's a large appeal. There really is something special about putting on a character costume or a fursuit. Maybe it's something to do with like being a mascot, and that might be something to interview with like mascots who are furries to kind of understand in perspective what the magic behind putting on a fursuit is. Because even though, you know, at the end of the day, it's literally just an expensive carpet, it really is a lot more for some people, and it's a lot more meaningful. It gives you, to some extent, you know, a superhero cape. You can put on whatever character you want, and no one knows it's you. You're just this fluffy animal character for some. It's not even just like an act or people are doing it out of courtesy. This is just the celebration of the hobby. That's what it is. Is that the end of the article? That's literally the end of the article. It literally ends with that safe space part. Okay, so we didn't get to like the conclusion. Maybe I'm reading articles wrong and thinking that there's some conclusion at the end of it, but that was really good. I like how it just highlighted all these different parts of furry that really do good for those that participate in the community. That is why I fucking love this article by BBC than the initial other article, which is just yikes. You can tell in the demeanor, in the approach, and where the research was done versus trying to take a narrative and go with it for the sake of pushing whatever viewpoint. Regardless, you can't deny that the BBC article is just that much better with how much it wants to highlight and put out the community. And that's why I love how ironically both of these articles were posted around the same time and talking specifically about ScotiaCon. It's good to have articles like this that better represent what the community is about, what these conventions and events are about, because at the end of the day, even though furry is predominantly a social online community, the best way to show it and let it shine is through conventions, through IRL events. So it's nice to have people highlighting it in a good way. It's nice to not always have these negative articles trying to rag on furries, even if it is rage bait. It might not be rage bait, but it fucking reads like rage bait sometimes. And I'm glad that we could talk about it today, especially knowing that we just compared a very, very bad and charged article against furries versus one that seems so honest and talking about what it has to offer. And that's why, you know, you can kind of like weigh the pros and cons of it. It had so much more to offer and talk about the community compared to even the first one. So, hey, BBC, thanks for doing what you do. Thank you for talking about the community in an honest manner and talking about it, or at least highlighting it for what it really means to those that participate in it. That's pretty much my consensus on it. Second article is amazing. First one sucks ass, seemed like rage bait at the end of the day, and you saw a lot of furries talking about it in a negative manner and kind of blasting it up, which is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm glad that we could have this conversation. I like having these talks.